Hello everyone. Today we discuss about process of delegation. The process of delegations involves the following points that I described right now. Determining the goals. The manager establishes the goals or the objectives of the uh, position post so that the person concerned knows what is expected of him. If delegation is to be initiated in the sales department, the objective should be made clear, say sales promotion or sales retention. Now define responsibility. Once requirement of the job is defined, the responsibility of individuals is determined in terms of task assigned to him. This helps in knowing who are their bosses and who are the subordinates to whom they can issue instructions. Define authority. The job having been assigned, authority should be given so that people can efficiently discharge the responsibilities related to that job. Motivations of subordinates. The duty of manager does not end by delegating the authority and responsibility to subordinates. He makes sure that subordinates willingly contribute to the job assigned so that organizational goals are optimally achieved. Managers motivate the subordinates to do their work with zeal and enthusiasm. They use financial and non financial participative decision making recognitions, etc. Initiatives to motivate the subordinates. The need for acceptance and recognitions are important motivators that boost employees' morale to perform the delegated task. So the desire for recognitions or ego satisfaction is central to their incentives in motivating people. Holding accountability. Whatever the nature and extent of delegation, manager constantly observes the activities of subordinates to review their progress and provide guidance wherever necessary. He holds them accountable for the work assigned but remains ultimately accountable or responsible to his superiors for completions of each task and its coordination with the overall organizational work. Training of subordinates. Despite giving the authority commensurate with responsibility, subordinates may not be able to effectively carry out the delegated task. Managers, therefore, organize training programs to enhance their knowledge on the subject. Establishing control, specific standards of performance are framed and communicated to subordinates to enable them to assess their performance against standards, self control their activities, and coordinate them with overall goals of the organization. Form of delegation. Delegation can take three forms. Top to bottom delegations. The process of delegations described above where superiors delegate part of their workload to subordinates is top to bottom delegations. Bottom to top delegations. This form of delegations recognizes the importance of informal groups in the formal organizational structure. The force of attraction of group members is so strong that if it comes to obeying the superior of group members, they choose the latter. Managers in such cases have to be careful in issuing orders or directions to subordinates to carry out the delegated task. They motivate subordinates as members of the group and not as individuals members to the extent to that manager convinces the members of the group that their needs his own and those of the company coincide, he can motivate them to produce according to the standards he sets for the organization. Lateral delegations. When manager delegate duties to subordinate in the hierarchy, subordinates further delegate the tasks informally to pupil at the same level in other units. For example, if general manager GM of sales department asks sales manager to compile the figures of sales and sales personnel for the month of January, the sales manager will seek the assistance of finance manager and personnel manager. Thus, authority and responsibility delegated to the sales manager is shared by him with managers of their or other departments working at the same level. This is a form of lateral delegations. Peer groups in this case come together and carry out the task as a team. Importance of delegations. Delegations is unavoidable. Manager have to be skilled in the art of delegation, and it is because of the following advantages of delegation. Relief to top manager. Delegations relieves top managers of the burden to carry out every activity on their own. By delegating routine activities to lower levels, top managers concentrate on important policy matters and increase efficiency of the organization. Development of managers. The more the managers delegate authority and responsibility to subordinate, more are the tasks and responsibility they accept from their superiors. By delegating routine jobs down the hierarchy, they can take more challenging projects and expand their skills and knowledge as competent managers. Development of subordinates. When routine and involved tasks are delegated to subordinates, their skill in handling the delegated tasks increases. Training facilities can also be provided to develop them as potential managers. Better decision making. Through delegations, decisions relating to routine matters are taken by those who are closest to the decision making situations. This increases the quality of decisions. Faster decisions. Not only are the decisions effective, they are also taken quickly as subordinates have the authority to do the jobs assigned to them without going to superiors every time they face a problem. They have the authority to solve the problems on their own. Specializations, division of work into sub-units and delegations of responsibilities according to skill, knowledge and competencies of subordinates enhances specializations on the job and results in greater and better output. Delegations provides a way to break down the responsibilities of a manager and assign them across several subordinate managers based on their specialized capability. Job satisfaction. Delegations job satisfactions to subordinates and motivates them to perform better when they achieve the delegated standards of performance. Promotes interpersonal relationships. Delegations increases interactions of managers with their subordinates and promotes healthy relationships amongst them. Principles of delegations. The following principles make the process of delegations effective that I described. Authority, responsibility and accountability. These are the elements of delegations that make it effective process. Partly of authority and responsibility. Though authority exactly equal to responsibility cannot be delegated, it must be commensurate with the responsibility so that delegates can give instructions to their subordinates for getting the work done. Authority without responsibility and uh, without authority have no meaning. Scalar chain. Every member should know his position in the scalar chain to know his superiors who have the power to delegate duties to them or him, and his subordinates to whom he can delegate the duties. The responsibility can be assigned if every person knows his position in the hierarchy. Competencies of delegations. No part of the total work except the one which is reserved by manager should be left out from being delegated. If so done, gaps would arise in respect of their work not so assigned, and the work will not be completed properly. Unit of command. Every individual should have no boss to whom he should report. If people have more than one boss, they develop the tendency of shifting the blame of their non achievements to their bosses. For examples, if a person cannot accomplish the task assigned to him by boss, he may say that he was busy carrying out instructions of boss B, and vice versa. While it may not actually be so, he thus avoids the responsibility of carrying out the assigned task. Now, absoluteness of authority or absoluteness of responsibility. Though the task and the authority to carry out that task is delegated to subordinates, the delegator continues to remain responsibility for the task of his subordinates to his superiors. If the district manager cannot achieve the sales target, then general manager of sales department remains responsible for the same. Delegations by results. Managers should first determine the objectives of delegations, that is, what they want their subordinates to do, and then delegate the task along with authority to them. If the production manager wants to increase production of productions units per month, he should delegate his tasks to his branch manager. The branch manager will carry out the tasks when things are clear to him. Delegate within defined limits. Managers cannot delegate what they are themselves not authorized to them. If a manager, for example, does not have authority to raise funds from financial market without sanctions of top manager, he cannot delegate his task to his subordinates. Elements of delegations. Delegations has three important elements. Responsibility is the activity of for tasks entrusted by the managers to subordinates, though delegated the ultimate responsibility, that is accountability for completions of the tasks, rests of the manager. Authority to carry out the responsibility assigned. There is need for authority to hire the fire people, spend resources, command people, issue directions, and make decisions also. The authority must therefore be delegated to subordinates to enable them to carry out the responsibility assigned. Accountability. When managers delegate a part of their workload to subordinates, they remain accountable for accomplishment of that task. The responsibility and authority thus can be delegated, but accountability cannot. Barriers of delegations. Though delegations enhances efficiency of the organizations by dividing work amongst organizational members according to their capabilities, it is not free from obstacles. Various barriers to delegations can be grouped in three main headings. These are barriers related to superiors, or delegators, barriers related to subordinates or delegating, barriers related to organization, barriers related to superiors. Despite knowing how important it is delegate, superiors sometimes do not delegate work to subordinates. This is because of the following reasons: wanting to do things personally. Some managers do not delegate because they feel they can do the work better than others. Since ultimate responsibility is that of the delegator, they prefer doing the work themselves rather than getting it done through others. Insecurity: if managers feels that subordinates perform better than them, they avoid delegations. The exposure of their inabilities to take decisions creates a feeling of insecurity, and therefore they fear to delegate. Retention of power: some managers like to take added responsibility, make their importance felt by everyone in the organizations, and want the subordinates to come to them to get their problems solved. Their desire to retain power and dominate is a hindrance to the effective delegations process. Lack of confidence in subordinate: the reward for risk in return. Unless managers assume risk of subordinates not performing well, they cannot contribute to the development of skilled managers in future. A manager who does not take risk in his subordinates and lacks confidence in them will not be able to delegate effectively. Unwillingness to set standards of control: having delegated the duties, managers remain accountable for overall performance of the work. They supervise the activities of subordinates and ensure the actual performance is according to planned perform. A manager who fails to establish standards of controls will not be able to effectively delegate duties to subordinates. Barriers related to subordinates: lack of confidence. Some subordinates do not want to take responsibility for the fear of not being able to perform well. They lack confidence and do not want to take any risk. They prefer to depend on their bosses to make decisions. Fear of making mistakes: some subordinates fear that if they make mistakes in carrying out the delegated responsibilities, their superiors will criticize and insult them in front of others. This fear uh, disgusts them from taking added responsibility. Lack of initiatives, motivations through financial and non-financial initiatives or incentives makes delegation effective. Subordinates are reluctant to accept delegations in the absence of incentives. Absence of access of various resources: if subordinates do not have access to resource, financial and non-financial, to carry out their work, they will not accept delegations of responsibilities. This happens when there is delegations of responsibility without commensurate authority. Conveyance or convenience: sometimes subordinate prefers to work done by superiors rather than assuming responsibility for the same. For the sake of convenience, they simply want their bosses to make the decisions. Barrier related to organization: the barriers related to organization's structure are size of the organizations, no precedence of delegations, degree of centralizations or decentralizations. Way to overcome barriers to delegations: accept the needs for delegations. When superiors are reluctant to delegate because they want to do everything themselves rather than allowing subordinates to do, they should realize the need for delegations. In fact, more the delegations, more successful will be an organization. Develop confidence in subordinates rather than feeling that subordinates are not capable of accepting responsibility, so that delegators do not or does not take the risk of delegations. The delegator should understand that a man learns through mistakes, and if he commits mistakes, he shall try to find out solutions to the problem also. If subordinates make mistakes, superiors should guide them rather than not delegating at all. Communication where delegations becomes ineffective because subordinates do not have the informations for making decisions. An effective system of communications should be developed so that information flows freely from superiors for the subordinate to the subordinate. Motivations. Subordinates should be motivated to acceptance the responsibility by providing financial and non-financial rewards like recognitions, status, etc. Develop an effective systems of control. Since ultimate responsibility for the work assigned is that of the delegator, he must ensure that subordinates perform well by setting responsible or reasonable standards of dividing the workload into subunits and assigning each subunit to perform most suitable for performing units. Choose the right performance for the right job. Lack of confidence in subordinates should be overcome by dividing the workload into subunits and assigning each subunit to perform personal person most suitable for performing them. Freedom for subordinates. When managers accept the needs for delegation to subordinates, them must also give freedom to make decisions with respect to the delegated task rather than not delegating at all or delegating less responsibility. For the fear of subordinates making mistakes, managers must give the subordinates authority to find solutions to their problems and learn not to make mistakes in future. Clarity of task. The responsibilities or the tasks delegated to subordinates must be clear, defined in terms of results expected out of these tasks. Knowing what is exactly expected of them will enable the subordinate perform the delegated tasks better, matching the job with abilities of the subordinates. Round pegs in the round holes shall make delegations effective as the right job will be given to the right person. Open communication. Though delegates are given the authority to solve problems related to the assigned tasks, yet they should be allowed to freely discuss the problems with their delegators. Monitoring the critical deviations, subordinates may make mistakes, however efficient they are at work. The superiors should overlook minor deviations with respect to the delegated task and pinpoint only major deviations in the tasks assigned. This promotes better response and a sense of responsibility amongst the employees. Develop trust and confidence in subordinate. Delegation should be a continuous process. Managers should appreciate the work of subordinates when they perform well. They should delegate them more tasks and express trust and confidence in them. They will boost their morale to perform better in future. Centralizations and decentralizations. Centralization and decentralization helps to coordinate organizational activities while delegations refers to assigning responsibility and authority to pupils from the level in the organizational hierarchy to the others. Centralizations and decentralizations refers to the extreme to which authority and responsibility are passed to people at lower levels if authority to make decisions is retained at top levels. The organization is said to be centralized if the decision making authority is distributed widely throughout the organization and lower level managers have the authority to use financial and non financial resources. The organization is used to be decentralized to being with the authority is retained at the top. As the organization's size increases, the scope of the authority gets narrowed at top levels, gets distributed to lower level managers. To what extent it flows down, the level depends on the degree to which the organization is decentralized. Centralization is the extent to which power and authority are retained at the top organizational levels. At decentralization is the extent to which power and authority are delegated to lower level. No organizations can be completed centralized or decentralized. In a completely centralized organization, and all decisions will be taken by top managers and there will be no subordinate managers. In a completely decentralized organization's authority to make decisions is delegated to lower level managers and therefore will be no top managers. Both the structures cannot coexist. Complete centralizations or decentralizations does not exist. Overall planning and organizing are initiatives or initiated by top managers and some authority is decentralized to operating units to carry out the work within the overall policy framework. All successful companies delegate authority to lower level managers, though the extent to which it is delegated depends upon different factors. So that's the end of the video, my friends. If you like my blogs, please subscribe my channel. Thanks a lot for watching my videos.